Okay, so welcome back to my channel. This is going to be the recap of ABSENTIA Season 1, Episode 10. This is the season finale. Was I disappointed? There were some parts of the episode that was pretty good, but overall, I was kind of like, it was kind of lackluster. At least for me. I mean, whatever. Okay, so the last episode ended with uh, Emily going down the manhole. So she's down in the tunnel, and so she's kind of milling around, and eventually she ends up getting shot with a tranquilizer, and she wakes up in the room that they were holding Flynn, and that the person was holding Flynn and Alice. And so she eventually comes to, and she looks over, and there's a mattress that Alice and Flynn slept on, but it was a person that was kind of wrapped up in a sheet, and so of course, at the and it's not well lit, so she at first was thinking the worst, like it was probably Flynn dead, right? So she pulls the sheet back, and it's actually Alice, and she's sedated. She's actually knocked out. So a video comes on, like they've piped in some kind of recording device, almost like Jigsaw, right? Like the person is in the mask and they're talking to her, and this is where they explain how all of this came to be. Okay, so in the last episode, we're gonna put a pin in that. So in the last episode, I thought that Tommy saw Nick leave, so I thought that he had actually followed Nick, but the Tommy's actually he actually went to get dinner or something. I don't know. So while he was there getting dinner, Crown called him, and he asked about Nick, and he was like, "Oh, he took off about 30 minutes ago." And of course, Crown was like, "Oh shoot!" So what I need, so he basically sent Tommy because he felt that he had found another patient or someone associated with the orphanage that may have had some old files that he could take a look at. So he sent Tommy to take care of that. So we go back to Emily in this room, and so the person is, like I said, they're fully covered up, so you don't know if it's a man or a woman, and they have their voice is distorted. So the person is basically explaining to Emily like why all this is happening and how it all came to be. And the person, what did she say? He asked her. So she's trying to ask, of course she was asking her, who are you? And basically, what does this have to do with me? And the person was like, I wonder if you remember the first life you destroyed. So of course she's sitting there confused, like, I don't know. And then she started having a flashback of the kid of Charles, because remember, Charles was like a little obnoxious brat, and so he pulled her hair or puts a bug in her hair or something, I don't know, when they were kids, and she ended up beating them up in the little cafeteria or whatever. And the person started running down like her, how I guess with the therapist, the write up for each one of the children as far as their behaviors, their characters, and that kind of stuff. And so I don't know if this is something that they would use to match children, or it kind of helped in adopting. And so the person started running down like all the issues that she had, and it was like basically child development develops impulsivity. I guess they have no control over their impulses, or they react before thinking. Aggression does what it says what does not respond to typical discipline. Appears to fit in but displays no affections. All of these things that basically was trying to kind of like she was a sociopath or something as a kid. Like she had the makings to become one. And the person was like, and that's why nobody wanted you. And so you saw a clip of her. She was sitting, and it was a couple that came in. And so, of course, she's sitting there, and she's, trying to be all cute, whatever. And they walk breeze right on past her. And so the person was like, well, that's why nobody wanted you. Like, you were just screwed up, basically. And so she said, so you took somebody else's life. And so she's sitting there she's kind of looking and thinking, and she thought back, and she somehow got into the doctor's office, went through the files, and she pulled her file and another person's file. I guess it would have been a child that had more favorable analysis, and she switched their paperwork. So instead of her being selected for all of those experiments based on her analysis, the other child did, because they had the doctor was going by the analysis that was in the file. So Dr. Chin was going by the analysis that was in the file, basically this person, their characteristics and their behavior and all that kind of stuff. And so that's how she got adopted out. And the child whose file she swapped was called Logan, what's the name? Logan Brandt. Okay. So it's like, oh, okay. And so because she fit what Chin was looking for as far as trying to develop these soldiers that were completely controlled, right? This experiment was some kind of experiment to basically it was to turn these people into killers that the government can control, basically, so they can send them out to kill and do whatever. They lack emotions. They're not able to have those kind of I guess we would consider human relationships or attachments. So they're so disconnected from what they do that, you know, they don't have to worry about that old pesky conscience getting in the way. I guess that's what that whole experiment was about. And so because of the child that they selected didn't naturally have those characteristics, they turned into a sociopath, right? Well, so I guess you could say the experiment worked. So she was like, well, who are you? Well, you may as well tell me who you are. And so the person continued talking, and they eventually removed their mask. And remember when Crown was interviewing one of Harlow's exes, and he was like, well, I need to know the name of the second man who assaulted you. And she was like, well, who said it was a man? So the person removed all of their stuff, and it was actually a woman. And at first I'm looking like, who is this person? So she was looking at the woman like she knew her. And I'm just looking like, who is she? It was the reporter. It was the reporter who was trying to become friendly with Jack. It's the one that bailed him out because she wanted to get the scoop. And I'm like, wait a minute, that file said Logan Brandt, right? But yeah. So after revealing who she was, she showed her a clip of Flynn. So at this point, Flynn was in back in the other room in a glass coffin, and she was begging her to let him go. He has nothing to do with this, and she was like, he has everything to do with this because he's the same age now that I was when Shin was doing these experiments on me. So at this point, Nick shows up. And, he finds, because she told him that she would leave the scarf to kind of guide him on where the manhole was. So he finds the manhole, he goes down there. And at this point, she was like, okay, you need to kill Alice. So at this point, Alice is still knocked out. And so she obviously didn't want to do that. And so she was slowly starting to make her way over because even though the person didn't say it was going to be Alice or Flynn, she basically said, you need to kill Alice. Like, I ain't say your ass is going to get up out of here or you're ever going to see your son again, but you need to kill Alice. And so at this point, Nick is down there, so he can hear, which is weird, he can hear Emily crying and screaming or whatever, but he couldn't hear the recording for some reason. So he busts through the door, right? And he jammed Emily all up. He had the gun all in her face and, what the hell are you doing? Where's my son? And And she was like telling him to turn because at this point the monitor was behind him, and the person still had Flynn on the screen in the coffin. And she's like, just turn around. He's like, where's my son? And why would you do this? So he's at this point, he doesn't care anymore. And so he's like, please just trust me. Just turn around. And so that's when he turned around and he saw Flynn on the monitor. He was like, where is, he's still not buying, feeling Emily. And so eventually at this point, Allison starts to come to. Now, I felt that, considering how sedated she was, she jumped up mighty quick and made her way out of the room, because this one, he was like, well, where is he? Where's Flynn? And Alex was like, I know where he is, because remember, she broke out before and went and got him out of the coffin. So he was in that same room, basically. So they get there, and they get the thing open, they get him out, and they make a run for it. At this point, the FBI, they was able to, I don't know if they was tracking, they had to have been tracking Nick's phone. And they found that, they was like, that's the cabin. So apparently they're underground. That cabin is over over the tunnels in which the person has been going back and forth. And so they make they're making their way there. Sorry. And so of course at this point to get him out, they're running, trying to get out. Well, not really, because Nick had just got there, so he knew how to get back out. And so next thing you know, you start hearing gunshots. Nick ends up dropping the gun because he's trying to block Flynn and Alice. And Emily picks up the gun and basically just tells them to go on. So they run. He gets them out. So Emily is just shooting, bang, bang, bang. As you know, a chase ensues, and they find their way outside. Nick gets them out there, and he puts Alice and Flynn in his car, told her to go on. He got him another gun out of the trunk, and he went back to help Emily. At this point, so Nick and Emily are running through the woods trying to catch this person, and Nick ends up being shot. So he got shot in the shoulder. At this point, he wasn't wearing his bulletproof vest, so he was seriously injured. So he's down, and the person now, they're both of them are out of bullets, and so now it's like hand-to-hand combat at this point. And so Emily and the name she was going by was Lori Coulson. And so her and Lori, aka Logan Brandt, they're going at it, and obviously it's to the death. It's a fight to the death. And so she is, at one point she's getting the best of Emily. Emily is down and she's dazed, and they're by this creek. So she's trying to drag Emily over to the creek so she could drown her. Somehow Emily gets the best of her. Now she's down. Now Emily's trying to drown her, but she has a knife. She ends up stabbing Emily. And so at this point, Emily's like, it's do or die. So Emily's on top of her at this point and just pushing her into the water to drown her. So at this point, you can hear the sirens and the police running, coming in. Allison, as she's driving, the police actually passed her. So she whipped around to go back, and in the end, basically, Emily ended up killing the person. But the person did reveal that Emily, the 6 years that she had been gone, they had been doing this experiment on her. And what she found out during this time is that, I don't know if you remember some episodes back where Allison and Flynn was at home alone. And Allison thought for sure that somebody was outside the house watching them. And I was like, is she stupid? Why would she go outside? Even if she thought somebody was out there, why would she go out there? And then later on, Emily admitted to being outside the house. But she said, Emily's story was, I think it was she wanted to see the life she could have had or something like that. But in actuality, Alice was there to Emily was there to kill Alice. And so what you saw was, once they cleared up the background of their footage of Emily standing outside, you saw a person standing way behind her with the hood over, like they're covered, but you can see somebody standing back there. So Emily was supposed to kill Alice, but because of her love for Flynn, obviously that's what stopped her. But she did in fact kill Harlow and Samaroff. And Lori, aka Logan, killed Adam. So that experiment did work to some extent on actually more than I think they've revealed at this point. I don't even know if this has been renewed for a second season, but in the end, Lori ends up being killed, and they take Emily into custody. And eventually after everything comes out, Crown does gives a press conference basically saying that Lori was responsible for everything and that Emily was completely cleared of all charges. And next you know, you see Nick in the hospital. I know, actually you see Conrad. Now you see Crown and Tommy in his office, and they're basically saying that after initially it was Harlow, was it Harlow or Charles and Lori? I know Lori was the ring. I think was the ringleader. After they killed Sinn, they started going through his files, and that's when she realized that Emily had switched their paperwork, and that's why she had the life that she had, and Emily, for a period of time, had the life that she had with the whole, the family in the White House and the white picket fence. So that's where the resentment and the anger came from, and that's why the person was going through so much to set her up and destroy her, basically. And so Crown asked her, so did you find out anything about, from the paperwork that you got from the person? He was like, well, no, but I'm still, looking for any other children that may have been involved in the study. So next thing you know, you see Nick, he's in the hospital, obviously recovering. And he wakes up and Emily is there for something. I was expecting. I would think that the first person he would see is Alice, but Emily was there. And, she basically explained that whole awkward sex scene they had in that hotel, and she thought she would never see him again, and that. And basically, she was like, we're different now, we're different people, and that was an old us, and we just have to move on. And he was like, yeah, and he was like, that's when he told her that Alice was pregnant, and you could tell that she was kind of teared up and was like, oh, that congratulations, like she was happy but not really. And yeah, so next it's Flynn's birthday, and everybody's at the party, and Warren, her father, they're sitting on the couch with Emily, and he was basically like, you're a survivor and you shouldn't feel guilty about that. None of this was your doing. You proved them right. You proved them all wrong, that you didn't do this. I always believed in you. And so then he asked her if she can get him a beer. And so she goes into the kitchen, and Tommy sees her, and he goes in, and he is trying to basically make a small talk with her, and basically letting her know that if there's if you have ever need anything, you could just give me a call. And she was like, so I don't know if he was saying that as like, you got a friend in me, or he was trying to put the moves on her, but whatever. But how the episode ended, it kind of begs the question. What else was she involved in? Okay, because she, went to the Sinn to get some water, and I don't know if you remember previous episodes where Alice, this actually was the first episode where Alice was kind of, she was upset that Nick hadn't fixed the dishwasher, because the party was at Nick and Alice's house, and that it was leaking. And so while she was so fast forward, now she's going to get water, and the dishwasher is running, and the noise, and she can see the water, and so she starts having one of these flashes about the tank. But this time, it was somebody else in the tank, and you can kind of see as the water kind of clears from the the person who's struggling, all of the stuff clears, that she's actually standing outside the tank looking in at whoever's in there struggling. So she kind of gave her a moment to pause, and she was kind of like, stopped her in her tracks, like, this isn't over. So that was basically how season 1 wrapped. Like I said, I don't know if they were renewed for a second season, but if they are, am I going to review it? I don't know. I would have to, I don't know. But I mean, it was pretty decent. So I'm going to leave this here, and I will talk to you guys later.